Hello everyone, this is Elliot from Bravo Gaming. Hello! As promised, this is a video about my fighter class ships, and without further ado, let's just get straight into it. Just before I get started, I just want to point out the fact that all of my ships are designed in survival mode, all of my small ships anyway, and then get blueprinted and brought out of, and used everywhere else. So the very first ship I'm going to start with is my very first ship, the Aberforth, or the A2G2RM. It originally was designed with only one engine nacelle. It was a civilian ship. It didn't have any rockets and only one Gatling gun. In fact, the Gatling gun was on this side, and the rocket and the engine nacelle was that side. This one was not here at all. I said where there is a hole and where the joint was, that was a few thrusters on that side. It was originally a civilian ship just for going around. It was very fast, very manoeuvrable, very fun. I then later actually edited it, put some heavy armor blocks at the front to give it some extra ornaments, a few more ornaments actually, and an extra engine nacelle just to give it that extra manoeuvrability. Ever since my first ever attack ship actually got almost beyond recognition, like it was so badly damaged, I was like, I need to take down this enemy ship quickly, so I just quickly retrofitted this. Moving on to my next ship, is actually my newest ship ever built. This is the one I only completed not too long ago, and it's loosely based upon the Star Wars Jedi Starfighter, the Mark, I can't remember, the Mark II Ace, which is in Episode 3 of Star Wars, where you see Anakin and Obi-Wan flying over Coruscant when they're trying to go on board General Grievous. Is this ship? Or is it Count Dooku's? I think it's Count Dooku's. Well, you can see the basic design layout. Of course, the fancy changes so it's Space Engineers compatible. It's got, I believe it's the A4G1RML, sorry. The A4G1RL. The Ace, basically. It's got 4 Gatling guns, 1 missile launcher. It's designed for dogfighting, not really designed for big ship combat, hence only 1 rocket launcher. I find in dogfighting, the spray of the Gatling guns just tends to wear away the enemy much faster than a single shot from missile launcher, which very often does not even hit its target. It's incredibly manoeuvrable. It takes a little time. It does strafe a bit in comparison to the Aberforth, but it sort of takes off. It just takes off so much faster. And overall, I prefer this ship to the. It's probably my favourite out of the ships at the moment. The Aberforth is still always going to hold a little place in my heart. It is just an incredible little ship. Well, yeah, like it's such a nice little ship with 4 thrusters at the front, 2 large at the back, 2 on each side, and then 4 on top, and then 4 on the bottom. So overall, just like, yeah, it's just a lovely little ship. It's got no heavy armour on it though. Mainly because I just wanted it to be manoeuvrable rather than because the heavy armour can only be in spotted areas, and seeing as this is mainly armour and a lot of hollow bits, I figured it was just pointless. Unlike the Aberforth, which has got heavy and light. Right, we move on to my first ever actually fighter class ship, small ship. This is the it's the V4G4R L? Yeah, L. It's, yeah, sorry, these are really confusing when I have to, I can say it individually, but when I have to go through all of them, it just takes me off guard. It's got quite a few thrusters at the front, mainly because it wasn't stopping fast enough, because when I have a look in the back is actually 4 large thrusters. It actually takes off much faster than the Aberforth. It's also a tad bit lighter. It's very lightly armoured, and you can see there's a lot of exposed parts on it. Like I said, it was a quick attack vessel, and I thought it'd be fine. Turns out it wasn't, and it got very quickly destroyed in the process. The Aberforth ended up holding so much better in a fight, and so I actually stopped using the ship once I managed to grab it with the Aberforth and rebuild pretty much the whole entire right hand side here. and a lot of the left was destroyed, and the front end was completely done in. There was almost nothing left of the ship. There was no, only like a couple of thrusters, no power whatsoever, and the cockpit had gone as well. Like, it was just a husk. But I managed to repair it and get it going again, which later actually got destroyed. The front end I kind of smashed in a little bit because it wasn't stopping fast enough. That's the one issue I had with it. And the armament, of course. And that brings me on to my next version of the Viper series, which is the V2R, sorry, the V4G4RM. This one has a little bit more heavy armor on it. You can't really see it because it's hidden within the white, and especially at the front, it's actually heavy armor. It just quickly, I just smashed it. I was thinking, no, I'm gonna do the front end and make it look better. I didn't do a very good job of it. It does look a tad bit better, but it just reminds me too much of the Battlestar Galactica fighters, and it was unintentional. Like, the Aberforth and these three ships were just pure inspiration from nothing, like just absolute creativity. Unlike the Jedi Starfighter, the Ace, that was designed based upon another ship. But anyway, I realised this still was just tad too light. It was too easily broken, and so I decided to make a heavier model, which we're going to move on to now. This is the Viper Mark III, or the last in the Viper series, as in I've now discontinued and most likely will not be continuing the development of these, or even construction of these. They just went on too long, basically. This is almost completely out of heavy armour. This is the V4G2RH. The numbers actually do mean things. For example, the V is actually the first initial of the name of the ship, such as the Viper, so V. And then the 4G would be the 4 Gatling guns. And then the 2R would be the 2 rocket launchers, hence 4R, 2R. And then H at the end would stand for heavy, medium, light. So, like, generally medium would be a mix of heavy and light. Heavy is obviously just pure heavy, and light is just pure light armour. This, I had to put quite a few thrusters on, and tried my best to work with it. It just wasn't quite as manoeuvrable because of the heavy armour. I actually ended up removing a lot of the heavy armour. If you see, like, along these points here, I removed the heavy armour, replaced it with light armour, but it just still was not as good. And there's still obviously some exposed parts, which I still didn't like. But overall, it's just ended up being a much bulkier ship, much wider. I started to struggle to land it within the Illustrious, which I've shown you in my previous video. I tried using the newer armour mods, the long slope armours rather than the small ones. It did sort of work. I still had to put a lot of thrusters. Like, it's got 4 large and then 2 small, 4 small, 5 small at the back. It just wasn't working as well as I hoped. Unlike the other ones, this has so all my Vipers, pretty much apart from, so my Viper has an exposed aerial at the front. The Mark II has it hidden behind the front cap there, and the 4th one is actually in the main body, a bit like my Aberforth, which is actually dead centre of the body, towards the end of the back there. And then of course my Ace has it at the back there, right where you access the nuclear reactor. Obviously the Aberforth reactor can be accessed through side panels, which are hard to destroy but easy to easy to access. And of course my Vipers were made on a similar basis of, as you walk up to it, well, I can't actually get in there, you sneak in the side there, of course there as well. This one, however, you had to come in from the rear end, and it is actually really problematic in getting this one as well. It actually turned out to be a little bit easier. I can't actually, there's no gravity. There's this gap here. But overall, like, they all have cargo bays built in, small cargoes. However, the most cargo base storage is actually in the Ace. The Ace has got flipping loads of cargo right at the bottom, underneath the cockpit. Mainly designed because you had oxygen. However, I didn't realise you couldn't use the oxygen bottles and store them within the cargo and have them used to fill up the cockpit. So it ended up being pointless. But at least I could use it for my Gatling guns, so long range, and then some extra fuel if need be, because it's hooked up with the reactor anyway. But overall, like, the two ships I most likely will still continue with will be the Aberforth, which would be my general. I could probably retrofit it so I have a diplomatic version of it. I could probably have a heavy version of it, a much bigger version, smaller, even make a big ship version of it. The Ace will most likely stay as it is. It's always going to be a fighter. It's not going to really be diplomatic. The colour scheme, I should probably point out, is always going to be white with red trimming. Apart from the heavy one over there, I kind of got a bit overboard with the paint job. But the reason why is because that's the colour scheme the RSF is, and they're all RSF ships, which is the Royal Space Force, which is my fleet. And but their idea is that people are like, oh, it's not very hidden, you're going to be able to see a mile off. And I went, that's kind of what I want. I want people to look at my ships and go, flip, we need to get out of here, and recognise them. Because, in all honesty, my ships can hold their own in a fight. They look flimsy, but they're surprisingly besides you use them correctly, they're nimble and manoeuvrable, and can seriously pack a punch. For example, the Aberforth, absolute tank of a ship. It could take a pounding. However, obviously, of all my ships, the almost weakest spot about all of my ships is actually the cockpit. But most of you will find that's the same way, especially with the new update where you can only have third person in sometimes. So going online and playing against other people with third person, you may not be able to see outside your ship. So the cockpits, the way they are, you can actually see out very clearly. So if I actually go in the Ace, you see how I've got a nice open top look. Hello guys, I'm afraid the recording stopped prematurely. I guess I ran out of space on the hard drive. So I'm just going to end it there with a few videos of me flying around. So if you've got any questions, please enter them in the comments below. Of course, please subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.